All right, so two stories got buried under all of the funding round news this week. I'm first going to tell you the big market story, which is almost nobody's kind of serving it up yet, plus this week's tool update. Super vital to stay abreast of what's going on. So Grok has had its biggest month in history. Claude shipped some major analytics changes, and Gemini playing very aggressively. Mini wins you can use literally today. So let's jump right into it. Industry leaders just shortened AGI timelines again. So some labs now publicly predicting major breakthroughs by 2029. That's not the story. The story is what's happening to the AI market right now as that timeline accelerates. So on April 24th, Canadian AI company Cohere and German AI startup Aleph Alpha announced a merger, creating a combined company valued at over $20 billion with dual headquarters in both Toronto and Germany. So this is backed by the Canadian and the German government, both publicly backing the scheme, and their digital ministers attending a big launch in Berlin. So this was not a corporate merger, it's a geopolitical statement. So this is the big thing that's happening now with AI. It's control over your data. So you can see a big push against, the major US players, and independence, an independence push from the likes of Canada, from the likes of EU leaders such as Germany. So the deal was anchored by $600 million from the Schwarz Group, Europe's largest retailer, parent of Lidl and Kaufland, who embedded the combined company's AI directly into their cloud infrastructure across 575,000 employees in 32 countries. So Cohere CEO Adrian Gomez called the combination sovereign AI, or AI sovereignty, which I think is a term that sounds kind of strange now, but it's going to become more and more common from both a geopolitical country and corporate perspective, and also from an individual perspective for each person and their own kind of sovereign AI track record and their ownership of that. We can even recently see, I think NVIDIA launched a $250 AI tool, basically that you can run your own processing and not need tokens from the likes of Claude or whatever. Obviously a bit of programming required. But let's jump back to the story here. And this phrase, sovereign AI, means that AI running on your own terms ultimately. Your data stays in your country under your laws outside of the reach of the US Cloud Act. So further compliance or full compliance with GDPR, the EU AI Act, and whatever else an independent country has with their regulators. So for 2 years, this was a niche concern. And in 2026, it became a procurement requirement, obviously with all the shifts going on between Canada and the US especially. So trade tensions, data localization laws tightening, and Canada's privacy regulator ruling in May that OpenAI's methods for building ChatGPT violated Canadian privacy law, over collecting personal data, no valid consent, inadequate safeguards. So when a G7 country's privacy commissioner rules that the world's most prominent AI company enterprise procurement teams start asking new questions. So the answer to these questions is clearly becoming a business. And I think that's the big thing about enterprise adoption, is there's going to be a lot going on behind the scenes that it's not so obvious to the eye, like the AI sovereignty, for example. So let's jump into a market that nobody's filling. So Cohere plus Aleph Alpha are going after regulated industries: defense, finance, healthcare, European public sector. We discussed before, DeployCo and the big four, KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, are going after Fortune 500 multinationals. But the enormous gap is everywhere else. For example, a regional hospital knows it can't just plug ChatGPT in without a compliance review. The financial advisory firm, under SEC oversight, the mid-sized law firm, the government contractor, a dental group, these real estate agents, financial data. There's tons of scope here, as you can see, for mid and smaller tier companies. So everyone needs these companies that I just mentioned, needs the likes of what Cohere is selling to governments. They need someone who can understand both AI and the compliance layer and can implement it at scale. So that's the big opportunity here, is can you get your head around compliance and AI and figure out, is this something that you can bring into your own business, the business that you potentially own, a business that you're working in, or a business that you want to develop yourself, as in you want to sell this as a service. That is a massive, massive opportunity. All right, so let's jump into what's new in AI this week, the mini wins, things that you can put straight into usage today. And as I say, with 1% AI, the goal is here just for all of us to learn a little bit of a step forward every single day. Don't get left behind by this. Don't think that I'll study it in the summer, I'll study it in the winter, I'll study it on this break, that break. It just never happens. One micro bit a day, a quick bit of news here, and then get back to implementation fire open a tab, open up Google Omni, open up Claude, try an artifact, try something simple that just nudges yourself forward in terms of your awareness every single day. So let's jump into it. Grok, some biggest month there so far from Grok. If I could get that out, it would be fantastic, right? So Grok 4.3 dropped on May 4th. So a new cost-effective flagship of built-in reasoning, 1 million token context window and native video input. Intelligence index score of 53 against the median of 35. So Grok image agent mode, absolutely fantastic for creating imagery. Grok build CLI, so a coding tool from Grok basically to challenge the Claude code kind of family. And then you've got Grok skills, so persistent custom expertise is like the answer to the Claude skills and custom GBTs. And then you've also got custom voices for short recordings. So there's loads going on here with Grok, as you can see, but a little mini win. If you've got a long media recording or a video sitting on your laptop, drop it into Grok today with 1 million tokens of context and native video input. You can get a full summary, action items, and a follow-up email draft in one pass. That used to require 3 separate tools. That's crazy. That's a super, super thing to impress people with. If you've taken notes of a meeting, you want to come back with a report, you even want to produce a little video to actually like further drill home the concept behind what you discussed. That's a really simple way to actionably use this. Of course, it might feel gimmicky, might feel Mickey Mouse, but there's aspects of, capturing someone's attention with that and just conveying what you want to do. And I think that's the big thing with AI tools, is not necessarily waiting for the inbound, like waiting to be told how to do something. Try to carve and sculpt what you have in mind, because often these tools will let you do that. But it's so vital to stay abreast of the news so that you can actually understand what tools are at your disposal. All right, jumping into ChatGPT, because most of us use it. Let's see what's new. So OpenAI quietly made ChatGPT 5.5 instant to default mode. So faster responses, mostly the same quality you've been getting. But the cautionary note is there was a developer controversy this week about ChatGPT's voice mode running on a weaker model than the rest of the app's users. So if voice is part of your workflow, don't assume that you're getting the same intelligence as the text chat. So an interesting one. So the bigger context with OpenAI this week is they filed for an IPO targeting offering between September and November, and they're building that consumer business that they want to take public, the consumer business that we mentioned, which is the consulting business. So if you've got prompts you saved a couple of months ago that felt slow, then give them another run today. I think a lot of people might have come across Mark Andreessen from A16, his monster prompt that went around X recently. Absolutely fantastic tool a prompt to actually kind of preload every conversation that you're using. So we'll quickly whip into the Claude and what major updates. We won't go through them in too much detail, but Claude Opus 4.7, actually 4.8 now for some users is available, which is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, it's going to use more tokens, but it's worth a try if you need some deeper thinking. The mini win is open Claude right now and create one skill. As we say, a saved set of instructions Claude follows automatically. So pick your single most repeated task. For example, writing client follow-up emails, summarizing meeting notes in a format, drafting in your voice, and codify it. 10 minutes of setup can save an hour a week. So Claude skill, I say skill because that's the term of this basically initiative or tool from Claude, is something that's definitely worth having a look at. All right, over to Google. Can't be forgotten about Gemini. Some people like it, some people don't. Personally, not crazy about the UI at times. I just tried Google Omni before recording this, and it was a bit clunky, truth be told. Didn't fully work, didn't really produce the video that I wanted, and had a bit of friction back and forth. But anyway, that being said, it's an amazing tool. So from Google last week, we've got Gemini 3.5, which is a new model. As we mentioned, we've got Google Omni combining reasoning with image and video generation in a single pipeline. And Spark, Google's 24/7 background agent, is rolling out to its AI Ultra subscribers. So if you heads up, you want to build on Gemini, a breaking API change went live this week. So basically just keep an eye out on that. So a mini win is if you want to make any kind of content, slides, social posts, internal updates, try Google Omni. I know I mentioned I had a little bit of a tricky experience with it earlier, but sometimes these AI tools, when they're recently launched, they can be a little bit glitchy for the first week or two. So not a big deal at all. Let's jump over to tools that are beneficial for building. So a quick stack for anyone who's building services for clients. Again, it's vital to be aware of these tools. So Claude plus Cursor, still the strongest combination for reliable agents and coding rather, not clouding, coding in fact. N8 self-hosted is a compliance answer for regulated clients, so data never leaves their infrastructure. Going back to what I mentioned at the start, which is data compliance is going to be so vital in the age of full AI adoption. I mean, pretty soon we're going to get to a place where basically every single role touches on AI. It's kind of like the time when maybe email came in initially, and some people used it, some people didn't, some people were, devoutly connected still to fax. Obviously, this is the third wave of the industrial revolution potentially, and it's no doubt about it, everyone's going to be using it. So don't kind of delay getting your awareness or building your awareness of it. All right, so let's jump over to areas of win areas. If you're looking to generate revenue yourself from AI at the moment, we'll whip through them quickly. So custom AI agents for local businesses. This is wide open. So dentists, lawyers, real estate, accountants, all of these kind of mid-tier firms that clearly have rollover subscription, recurring client bases, they're prosperous little businesses. So if you can build an agent that handles one painful workflow that they have. So, a way of going about this is get to know someone in one of these businesses, even offer to build one of these for them on the basis that you can get in, you can learn a little bit about the operation, and then come back to them with a potential agent. Or I'm sure, you potentially know someone who works in one of these, or potentially you're working in one yourself, but just take any knowledge of some industry that ideally an industry that has kind of in that sweet spot of the small to medium business that also has potential scalability, like a dentist, for example. You might go to a very profitable dentist generating over, $1 million in profit a year, potentially. Margaret in the office is doing tons of paperwork constantly. She's stressed out, she's overworked, all that sort of stuff. The owner of the business doesn't want to hire someone new, doesn't want to take that extra salary payroll, the HR aspect of it. Think of the opportunity here. With an AI agent, there's no HR, there's no people politics, there's nothing. So you can come in and you can make an owner's life so incredibly easy by implementing these AI agents. And of course, it's not like you're going to put in some sort of superhero AI agent that's going to do everything overnight, but you can do micro tasks that kind of build the trust with that owner, and then you can scale up those services over time. Again, let's take that example. Let's change it into a different sphere. Imagine you're in a role. You can go to your company's owner and again, show them that you can build these services. Or if you've got your own company, then you can also implement these into your own business. You can give your team that extra ammo to go and get more done. And frankly, over time, you can probably reduce headcount and friction that comes with any kind of, small, medium business. So that's one big area. So let's park that as kind of one big win area. The next, and again, this second one is potentially good for someone who's working in a business or someone who wants to pitch this as a service. And equally, if you're a business owner, this is vital to be aware of. So this is compliance. So the compliance AI consultant model, that is so much potential. So this is where today's sovereign AI story becomes an income play. So pick a regulated industry, healthcare, finance, accounting, even real estate. It's on the fringe of regulated or not. Learn the 2 or 3 compliance requirements that matter. So could be HIPAA, could be GDPR, could be the FCA, and then lead conversations with compliance first, AI second. So you're selling compliant AI, and this is a different product with different pricing power, because ultimately these are things that companies cannot make an error with. They just can't. It's too risky. It would explode a small business to have a major compliance issue, and that's where you can come in and actually provide crazy value. So again, remember, you're selling the compliance piece. You're not just selling an AI tool. Don't let the person you're pitching to get bogged down in that, whether that person you're pitching to is your boss in the company or whether it's an external potential. So just focus on the compliance aspect. And then basically the meta reassignment lesson. This is really, really vital for someone who's working in a role. This is the career play. So according to a report on Meta earlier this quarter, the company resigned thousands of employees into AI-focused teams while canceling thousands of open roles. So think about that. They basically fired tons of staff and also killed and culled tons of future hiring. The people who got reassigned didn't necessarily know the most about AI. They were the ones their managers thought could learn AI and apply it into real business problems. This is why it's so vital, if you're in a place of employment, that you're learning about AI. So the gap between someone who knows about AI and can apply to actual outcomes is what separates those who get reassigned, and those who get replaced. So if you're not doing this visibly in your current role, then start this week. Tune into what we're talking about here. Try one little thing. You'd be shocked about listening to 2 or 3 episodes of this or another YouTube channel, what you'll pick up really, really quickly, it's just about the 1% daily repetition. So pick one workflow at a time, use AI on it, document the results, make it impossible for your managers to miss. Equally, if you're pitching and providing services to someone, make sure that they're aware that you're moving towards AI, because undoubtedly, if you're a service provider to another small business, they're thinking to themselves, you know what, I wonder if AI could do half of this. I wonder if I could find someone who is cheaper, who's maybe using AI, and they don't rely on the 10 staff that I'm aware that this company has. So it's a really, really vital thing together. All right, so let's pull all this news together. So Canada ruled that OpenAI violated their privacy laws. We've got 2 countries backing a 20 billion company specifically to avoid US AI platforms. We've got KPMG choosing Anthropic for safety and government. We've got DeployCo's investors are betting that the implementation and trust layer is worth more than the model itself. Because remember, we've got the big 4 invested into DeployCo alongside Claude. Crazy to see this come together. Implementation, again, is bigger than the actual tool itself. So the pattern is trust is becoming a scarce resource in AI, not capability. Models are getting good enough that everyone's model is good enough. You know, Grok is amazing, Google's amazing, Claude is amazing, ChatGPT, they're all insanely good. So what's hard is knowing which one you can actually use with the legal and regulatory or reputational troubles. So for your career, be the person who knows not just how to use AI, but when it's appropriate, what the risks are, and how to document the answer. That role doesn't get automated. So it's about knowing all of the different tools and staying abreast of it. If you're not continually aware of what the tools are, then basically you're going to get left behind. So equally, if it's for your business, leading with trust isn't a disadvantage, it's a moat. So making sure if it's your own business that you're aware of these tools. All right, so don't just watch 4 steps this weekend. So try one mini win from today's segment. You know, whether it's try a Claude skill, drop a long video into Grok. I'm going to try that straight away after I finish recording here. Run an old prompt through ChatGPT. Pick one, just do it. Go spend 5 minutes on it. Another thing is you could pick a niche that you understand, one problem, and build a simple agent around it. So actually, you know what? I'm not even going to go into further potential steps or things that you could do. Those 2 alone are absolutely more than enough, because it's just about staying 1% daily, 1 little percent more of awareness about what's going on in this world, in the broader macro scheme of AI, and then down into you specifically. Don't get left behind. Like, this is the big thing. Do not get behind. So that's the brief from May 29th. The global story, the tool updates, the plays, the trust angle, everything checked and sourced. End of the week question for the comments is, which mini win are you trying first? Is it Claude Skills, Grok 4.3, ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or Google Omni rather? Whatever it is, just ultimately make sure you do it. So yeah, 1% daily, stay abreast of it, keep learning, and don't